start taking time to figure out where am I going to go to sleep tonight. I might be on that side of the river for a while. Talking to your bosses, talking to your loved ones, talking to your healthcare providers, if that's what you need to do to make sure that you have your act in order so you're on the right side of the river when you wake up.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. So the bottom line here is, if you need to get to work in downtown city, work in Jeffco or live in Jeffco, need to get to downtown city, maybe you need to stay in a hotel in the city tonight. You need to make these decisions now before midnight, because I-55 could go under just like this interstate behind me. Be prepared. Now, people have come here all day long at Interstate 44 to stare in awe at the highway as the waters rise. Nature's force was on display on Interstate 44 today as floodwaters quickly gained control of the federal road. 24 miles of road are shut down. It's a long detour for people trying to cross the country. Fast food restaurants were surrounded by dirty river water. Stacks of lumber from 84 Lumber floated downstream. You can only imagine the cost of those losses. Nearby, a scrap metal business went under. The owner showed up to witness what happened to the place he spent so much time and effort on. Now, nearby sightseers stood and watched with their cameras and kids as the devastation mounted. So the man who owns the scrap metal business is very saddened by this, but he tells us that he does plan to reopen. And MoDOT says they're hoping that this highway Interstate 44 opens sometime Friday, but the predictions have been kind of loose. They've been going up, arriving faster. The waters have going higher than expected. So again, people using I-55, make a decision now. Talk to your workers, talk to your boss. Where do you want to be when you wake up tomorrow? Which side of the river? Reporting live here along Interstate 44 at 141, Rocky Madden, Fox 2 News.
Well, one of the major problems tonight is traffic. Many major arteries are flooded, and just trying to get around town is a nightmare for so many people today. This is video of Highway 30 westbound being shut down. Right now, we're going to go up to photojournalist Dick Arnold for an aerial view. He's over I-55, that trouble spot. What are you seeing right now, Dick?
Mandy, we're near where Chris Higgins was reporting. They're using a cement truck to haul sand and argue it into these blocks they put up to try and slow this flow of water. This is I-55, and as you can see, the water is getting very close on the shoulder here to getting over the road. I remember 93 floods and don't recall seeing the water ever get this high here on the Merrimack River. It is causing numerous traffic problems. Highway 21 is closed, Highway 30 is closed. We were up in Valley Park, and that area on 44 is closed. So this part of the area has really been hit hard by this, and it's going to cause people many hours to commute and get home. Hopefully they stay out of the floodwaters, take their time, and get home safely. Mandy, back to you.
Dick, thank you. As we continue to look live from Bommarito Automotive Skyfox over that area near Merrimack Bottom Road, again, we just heard from MoDOT saying that they're expecting the river to be about a foot higher than they originally thought, and that means that water could likely get over I-55. So reevaluate your travel plans if you travel in that area. And Chris Higgins is down there with the crews where they're putting up those industrial-sized sandbags. We're going to have a live report from him coming up in just a few minutes. Well, when Bommarito Automotive Skyfox gives us the aerial views of the flooding, you can watch them live on fox2now.com. This was the scene earlier today in Eureka, and that is where Fox 2's Paul Shankman is live on the flood watch tonight. Paul?
Well, Mandy, we are at First and Central, and as those two cross streets would suggest, we are basically at the heart of town, certainly at the heart of Eureka's quaint downtown, and as you can see tonight, it is in terrible trouble. This is a river town, but people here are pretty gobsmacked at just how bad the flooding is this time around. There are many places getting wet this time that have never experienced serious flooding before. One of those places is the Elk Trail subdivision off Highway 109. Despite efforts at sandbagging yesterday, water is getting into basements. Because it is not a normal event in this subdivision, people have been scrambling to find pumps. Many have had to go to St. Louis to rent them. In the meantime, they move their belongings upstairs and hope they can put up enough of a fight to keep the water out of the main part of their homes.
We knew it was coming. We didn't realize how bad it was going to be. So just got stuff up off the floor, and then once it started really coming in, we carried it upstairs as we could. I mean, there's a lot of stuff ruined, but.
Does it seem like it's still coming up?
Oh yeah, it's definitely still coming up through the sewers. There's no place for it to go right now. So, I mean, a lot of people have the caps on their sewers. They're blowing off. So, just, you know, taking our lumps and gonna clean up when we can.
We found several people in that subdivision volunteering to help, including a group of about 10 guys who were helping a homeowner without a pump by forming a bucket brigade to bail water into the street. There have been some pretty spectacular rescues out here. We'll show you one of them in a minute. In all, there have been about 50 rescue missions, usually involving at least 2 to 3 people being rescued at each location, often with several pets as well. One spot being watched is Eureka High School, where water is over 2 athletic fields and the concession stands just about up to the lower gymnasium that's been fortified with sandbags, as so many buildings here have been. The good news is emergency officials here now have been told that the river is cresting now. The bad news is it is at an all-time high. The record in 1982 was 42.9 feet. The level as of 4 o'clock was 45.9 feet. Live in Eureka, Paul Shankman, Fox 2 News.
Paul mentioned those rescues. Bomarito Automotive Sky Fox caught up with a rescue boat as it saved a man and his dog this morning. They were stranded on the roof of a house in Eureka, about a mile off Highway 109. You can see the house is surrounded by water, with only the roof still above the flood. The man jumped in the boat and the rescue team helped pull him and his dog to safety. The man was taken to the hospital for possible hypothermia. He had been out on that roof without shoes all night long. Well, check this out. Driver stranded on Interstate 44 just after 7 o'clock this morning, about a mile east of Highway 109. Sky Fox caught the driver of this white sedan waiting for help. Minutes later, first responders arrived by boat to rescue the woman. Shortly after she got into the boat, 2 men showed up in a large truck. They drove her white car out into the wake created by the big truck. It was a risky and dangerous move, but they did get out. Well, Bomarito Automotive Sky Fox also found another truck stranded in the water with the owner on the roof needing a rescue. Turns out this was a gun shop owner in Eureka trying to get his merchandise out of harm's way as the floodwaters were rising on Route 109. Fox 2's Chris Hayes caught up with him this afternoon, and he continues our Flood Watch live team coverage. Chris, before we get all of that, you have some new information for us tonight.
Mandy, we've been told there's a possible risk of an explosion on the other side of 109 from where we're standing right now. Apparently, water is now mixing with the fuel of the Public Works backup generator for the sewage treatment, and if they don't get to the emergency shutoff valve, they fear it could explode. Smoke has stopped billowing from this emergency generator, which makes us think that they have possibly reached this emergency shutoff valve, and we will let you know if anything changes. Back to this rescue. This man said he had to be out there. He owns Tier 1 weapon systems, and he did not want his guns to get into the wrong hands. Sam Andrews told me he did get everything out. He just needed that extra hand to get it all. We were watching live from Sky Fox when firefighters pulled him out. He was in his pickup with his final load of weapons. You could see his legs hang out the back window as he steered his way to dry land. Water gushed out of his truck, but Andrew said he remained dry. He said he even took off his shirt and jacket and put it on top of his truck so that he would have something dry to wear once he was out of the flood water. He explains how quickly the water surrounded his shop overnight.
I went to sleep about 1:50, and the parking lot was completely dry. And I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of water hitting the sandbags and starting to creep in the shop. And so we moved some of the more expensive things to high ground, got the computers off the floor, and then got the high-end stuff into the truck, into the cab of the truck, and underneath some of the wood, and then tried to get out.
He said he was successful and that we were watching live when he got out that last load. He also mentioned that his wife was watching live, and I asked him, was she worried about you? He laughed, and he showed me a text that she sent him saying, "Are you done playing in the water?" Live in Eureka, Chris Hayes, Fox 2 News.
Chris, thank you. Bomarito Automotive Sky Fox also flew over Valley Park tonight, where some residents were asked to leave due to the rising floodwater this afternoon. Fox 2's Betsy Bruce is there live to continue our Flood Watch team coverage tonight. Betsy?
Well, Mandy, the evacuation of a small, low-lying residential and industrial area began at daylight here in Valley Park. Now, the area is just east of the Burlington Northern Railroad and behind this intersection here at Marshall Road and 141. Now, there have been previous floods here, so many residents are familiar with the drill. Haul out the valuables and family treasures, put furniture in the attic or at least the second floor, and find a place to stay with relatives on high ground. But for some, this is a first.
Moving my son out from the waters. This is the first time we've had to deal with flooding over here. And I'm over in Highland Village. We've lived there for 20 years, and I'm going to have a hard time getting in there because the water's up.
Most of the majority of the people were already packed up, ready to go. I mean, they've been through the floods, and they knew where it could possibly go, so they just had everything ready. It has been no mass exodus, and people have been very good with it.
Now, the city has been reinforcing the top of the levee here at the railroad tracks where there is a floodgate. The mayor, though, is very confident that it will hold. He says it's at least 45 to 45.5 feet tall, and it's expected to crest the river at 44.1 feet. In Valley Park, Betsy Bruce, Fox 2 News.
Some South St. Louis County customers may experience some lower than normal water pressures for the next few days as a result of the flooding along the Merrimack. Here's a look at the communities affected. The quality of the drinking water is still good, but Missouri American Water is asking customers in these affected areas to conserve water for the next few days. The affected area includes areas served by the South County Water Treatment Plant. Well, time now to get a check of our first forecast. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray joining us now, and everyone watching these river levels, they've been changing, and it really is a battle of inches for a lot of these communities.
No question. And flooding is a very fluid, dynamic situation. It will change, and folks who are thinking about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day need to stay really up to date on this because it does change almost moment to moment. We've seen it in our newscast already. Flood stages go up, flood stages go down. The good news is that we are almost at crest here in the next 24 hours. However, when we hit the crest and the river starts to pull back, it doesn't necessarily pull all that water back with it. So there's areas that are flooded are going to stay flooded, and they're going to have to pump some of this stuff out in order to get towns back going again. The second dry day in a row, that can only help the area rivers, but getting floods to relax is a very, very slow process. The rainwater continues to drain into the big rivers, especially the Merrimack River. That is the big spot for the flooding. Let's go through the numbers. Mississippi River, the crest is now working down the river, reaching St. Louis late Thursday night into Friday morning. So things starting to improve on the Mississippi River. The Missouri, more good news here. The river is falling at Herman and Washington. The crest reaching St. Charles a little later on tonight in about 6 hours or so. The flooding hotspot continues to be the Merrimack River with record flood levels still going on from Pacific to Arnold. However, the crest is now in progress, but Valley Park and Arnold still coming up a little bit more by about another foot this evening, and they will stay in flood for several days with a backwater effect from the Mississippi River, kind of preventing that water from going down very quickly. The Illinois River at Hardin just about at crest or peak levels right now. Any fall will be slow again to a backwater effect, and some of the other Missouri rivers in flood, but the highest water now in place and showing signs of starting to fall. On the big river, you can see there's no forecast data available, but the river is now falling and should be below flood stage late on Thursday. So things are starting to drain out. The problem is that a lot of that is draining out into the Merrimack River, and that's why there is such a big problem there. The key to all the river forecast, no more rain, and we will dry out over the next several days. However, there is another round of rain on the horizon around the 7th and 8th of January. More on our weather coming up in about 15 minutes. Mindy.
For news 24/7, just click on news at fox2now.com.
Welcome back to Fox 2 News at 5. We continue to have live team coverage tonight of the flooding situation in the area. And one of the areas MoDOT and folks have been watching tonight is Interstate 55 at Merrimack Bottom Road in South St. Louis County. Meteorologist Chris Higgins is live in the Fox 2 Storm Pilot tonight with a look at the conditions there. Chris, what's the status at this point?
Yeah, Mandy, I'll tell you what, this has been an area of extreme concern all day long, and it started early this morning. A lot of internet hype, if you will, and rumors. Is 55 closed? It is closed. It isn't closed. Will it be closing? All those kind of things, as you expect in a fluid situation like this. 55 has been open all day and is open right now behind me. This is the Merrimack Station Road entrance ramp to southbound 55. That is closed. Folks are here at MoDOT using this as a staging ground for a massive sandbagging effort. They are doing everything in their power to keep as many lanes of this interstate open for as long as they can, holding off the Merrimack River for as long as possible. Take a look at the video we shot just a little while ago before the sun began to set. This is new video, and they were on the scene here this afternoon filling these huge bags, these sandbags, with sand. Now, they brought in dump trucks, they brought in forklifts and bobcats, all of them coming in here to fill those bags up with sand, and they want to line it along the interstate here, trying to keep the Merrimack River off the interstate for as long as possible. Now, the interstate is down to 3 lanes as opposed to 4 lanes, and at this point, they're going to be able to keep it open until midnight tonight. Now, I talked with some of the folks who are driving around this area, who live in this area. Here's what they had to say about this big mess.
Yeah, I think if it does shut down, it's going to mess things up pretty bad.
I'm from Afton, but we're working in Fenton, and we had to come all the way around down 30 to M to come back up this way because 141's closed at 21. 30's closed down at the bottom, down there by that Faith Church. So it's just a mess.
Now, again, 55 is expected to be open through midnight tonight, but Tom Blair, I think you heard earlier this evening, saying at midnight tonight, you need to decide which side of the Merrimack River you want to be on for the next couple of days. Reporting live with a storm pilot in South St. Louis County, Chris Higgins, Fox 2 News.
It's going to have a tremendous impact on our area. We continue to watch the road closures for you tonight. Again, 141 at 44 remains closed, as does I-44. Both directions between I-270 and Route 100, 24 miles of 44 is shut down. Highway 30 outside of I-270 is closed, as is US 67 at the Mississippi River. This is just a few of the road closures, and these closures have been coming in from MoDOT and IDOT as the roads have been flooding. We will continue to collect all of the information for you. If you need to see an exact road and location, just go to our website, fox2now.com. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon is touring flood zones. He declared a disaster area for flooded out areas and deployed the National Guard to try to help save communities in danger. Fox 2's Andy Banker joins us now as part of our Flood Watch team coverage tonight. Andy?
Yeah, Mandy, these are sites the governor says are just plain hard to see. When we caught up with him, he had just finished his ground tour in Pacific before he climbed aboard a helicopter for an aerial view.
What the governor is seeing is mind-boggling. The Merrimack River raging over the railroad bridge near Highway 141. Just up the road, 141 is underwater at Interstate 44. Immediately west of 141, 44 is underwater in 2 spots. The river's projected crest at Valley Park is now pushed back until later tonight or tomorrow. A new record, grim sights, with the governor bearing more grim news.
The death toll stands on this one at 14. We just confirmed another one. We had another recovery in Crawford County. I should note to everybody here, I mean, if we could say it, and the colonel will probably say it, if we could say anything over and over and over, it would be don't drive into water.
And the governor says all but one of the fatalities has involved people driving into floodwater. As for good news, there have been truck top and rooftop rescues near Eureka, and the river has already crested in Pacific, 2 feet below the projected crest and just below the 1982 record. But more homes have gone underwater.
In the brew house.
The section of 1st Street we toured with the emergency management director less than 24 hours earlier is now under several feet of water. And in Union, businesses near highways 47 and 50 remain swamped, but the water is actually going down. The water may be winning round 1 of this fight, but the governor says Missouri will win the battle.
It's just not funny to shovel mud out of your house. It's not fun to see your possessions soaking there and not being able to figure out what's going on. We are here before the water rises. We're here after it falls. We're here until this place is back to where it was before. There's just nothing funny about a flood, and a flood in the winter is very dangerous.
And the head of the Missouri Highway Patrol was with the governor. He says the death toll may actually rise. A couple of what he called recovery efforts are still underway in Verdon and Polk counties, which are not in the St. Louis area. Mandy.
All right, Andy, thank you. Further south in Jefferson County, the efforts to save the High Ridge water treatment plant have been called off. So that is now threatening the drinking water for thousands of residents. A boil order has not been put into place yet, but officials say residents do need to plan on conserving water from here on out. And to stay up to date on this fast-changing weather situation, just download our Fox 2 weather app. With it, you can have the radar images right down to your block. Search Fox 2 St. Louis weather in the App Store. Our flood watch coverage continues for you tonight. We're going to take a look at flooding all across the rest of Missouri as our neighbors are also dealing with the high water. Our flood watch coverage continues tonight as we want to give you another look at flooding across the state of Missouri. This is in Bourbon, Missouri. It is amateur video sent in of a cabin floating down the river. We think this was on the Merrimack River. It's just one of many sites we've seen of homes floating in all of this high water. Floodwaters are starting to drop, though, at Lake of the Ozarks. The lake crested Monday night at 663 feet. It's hitting its highest level in nearly 30 years. That led to massive flooding with docks washing away and rescues there. Ameren, the utility that regulates Bagnell Dam, opened its 12 of its floodgates, and the lake has now dropped a foot. And this is a look at Springfield, Missouri from a drone. They have been one way that we've been getting a lot of the flooding video into us when the way is blocked by water. According to TV station KTVI-TV in Springfield, there have been 2 confirmed deaths in Springfield and Greene County as a result of the flooding. There have been 119 water rescues in the area so far. The health department says even the city's animal shelter sustained damage due to the flooding, but the shelter animals are safe and staff has been able to clean up the mess.